If you've ever looked in the mirror and thought, with all the work I've done, why do I still feel like I'm not enough? This video is for you. Over the last 8 years, I've helped hundreds of people go from struggling with self-doubt to deep, unshakable confidence using simple systems I've developed to shift your mindset. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to reclaim your confidence once and for all. Did you know that 85% of people struggle with low self-esteem, which often manifests as persistent self-doubt, second-guessing, and negative self-talk? So, to start with, let me show you the easiest way to disidentify from your self-doubt. First, self-doubt is not who you are. It's something you were taught. And what that means is, because it's learned, it's not inherent. And therefore, you can change that programming. Most people were taught to doubt themselves through criticism, conditioning, and comparison. But we're not born that way. Maybe it came from a critical parent, or a teacher who embarrassed you in front of the class, or a partner who chipped away at your self-confidence one sarcastic comment at a time. Somewhere along the line, you were handed a message, one that said, "You're not enough," or "You're too much. You'll probably fail," or "You don't deserve that." Whatever the message was, you internalized it. But here's the truth. You were not born doubting yourself. You learned to do that. And if you learned it, you can unlearn it. This is where everything begins to shift when you stop treating self-doubt like a personality trait or a character flaw, and instead start seeing it as programming. Programming you can change. And that's the good news. Because if it's just programming, then that means you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just running an old script. And in this very moment, you get to choose something different for yourself. Here's something most people don't realize. The way you speak to yourself becomes the identity you live from. Every thought, every passing comment, every time you say to yourself, "I can't do this. I always mess things up. Who am I to even try?" You're not just talking, you're reinforcing an identity. You're building a version of you in your own mind. And you're imprinting your subconscious with that version, that self-concept. And then you're living as that person, even when that self-concept is outdated and no longer fits. So that's the first thing you need to understand. Your negative self-talk shapes your self-confidence, your subconscious programming. And as I just said, that programming can be changed. But with over 90% of our thoughts being repetitive, it's no wonder self-doubt feels like a constant companion. And here's the thing about that. That voice in your head, it's not always accurate, or honest for that matter. It's just familiar. We repeat what we hear most, and for many of us, that inner voice sounds a lot like someone from our past. A parent, an aunt, an uncle, a toxic partner, or someone else who bullied us. But today, you can interrupt that loop because confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from self-honesty and choosing new language, a new inner dialogue. So, I want to give you a simple challenge right now. Think of one thing you've been saying to yourself lately that you know is not coming from your highest self. Something that brings you down, keeps you feeling small and less than. Now, flip it. For example, if you say to yourself, "I never get it right," flipping it becomes, "I'm learning, I'm growing. And as I learn, I adjust. I can't get it wrong. Either I win or I learn, so either way I profit." Now, it might feel awkward at first because your nervous system is wired for the old script. But remember, repetition rewires your identity and your reality because it rewires your subconscious. The thing is, you don't need to force confidence. You just need to stop reinforcing doubt through repetitive negative self-talk. Now, let's clear up one of the biggest myths out there. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for. It's a decision you make. Waiting to feel confident keeps you stuck. Confidence is built through action, movement, not contemplation. Most people sit around waiting to feel confident before they take the leap. They wait until they feel ready before they make the call. They wait until they feel qualified before they do the thing. And they wait until the fear is gone. And guess what? That day never comes. Here's the truth no one teaches us. You don't become confident and then act. You act, and that's how you become confident. Confidence is built in the doing. It's a muscle, not a mood. The most confident people you know, they didn't wait for the doubt to disappear. They moved in spite of the doubt, in spite of the fear, in spite of the discomfort. They took the stage while shaking. They launched the offer without knowing whether or not it would work. They made the phone call. They wrote the article or the book. They had the hard conversation, and they asked for more. They decided to trust themselves more than they trusted their fear. And you can do that too, starting immediately. Let me ask you, what would change if you stopped waiting to feel confident and instead started practicing being that person, your ideal future self, now? Try repeating this to yourself. I don't need to feel fearless. I only need to be willing to move, to take the next right step, willing to act like someone who actually believes in themselves, backs themselves, and knows exactly who they are. Confidence isn't a destination, it's a decision. And the more often you choose it, the more natural it becomes. Here's a truth that changed everything for me and for the people I coach. You will never outperform your identity. It doesn't matter how many strategies you know, how many videos you watch, how many books you read, or how hard you work. If you still see yourself as the person who isn't good enough, or the person who always gets overlooked, or the one who's just not cut out for it somehow, then everything in your life will align with that identity, that belief system. You might take action, but you self-sabotage. You might get a breakthrough, but you pull yourself back. You might set goals, but deep down, you expect to fail. Not because there's something wrong with you, but because your identity hasn't caught up with your desires. The results you're creating in your life right now are a reflection of the identity you're holding, not the potential you actually have. You will always default to what you believe about yourself, unless you change that belief. But how do you do that? How do you rewrite your beliefs? In particular, deeply held beliefs about yourself. Well, to begin with, a belief is just a thought you think over and over again until it becomes a belief. It's not because you believe a thing that it's necessarily true. Think about all the people out there believing things you and I both know are fundamentally false. So, choosing your thoughts through repetition is the name of the game. If you want to change your outer world, you must first change the inner story about who you are. Instead of repeating, I'm a person who always doubts themselves, begin with, I choose to lead myself now, even when it's uncomfortable or I feel afraid. Because the moment you shift your self-concept, your actions, decisions, and outcomes shift too. Confidence, as I said, is an identity. Worthiness is an identity. Success is an identity. Abundance and prosperity are an identity. So, what identity are you practicing? And therefore, choosing to embody? Because when you upgrade your self-confidence, you automatically upgrade your life. When you change the inside, the outside has to catch up. It's universal law. Now, I'm going to show you why it's critical for you to understand that you are not the voice in your head. That voice you hear isn't you. It's a script you were given, and you have the power to stop letting it run the show. You are not the voice in your head, the voice you're hearing. You are the one hearing the voice. That inner critic, the one that says, "You're not ready. You always mess things up. Who are you to do this, be that, have, fill in the blank?" That's not your truth. And that's certainly not your higher self speaking. That's old, outdated programming. And most of the time, it's just someone else's voice, again, that we internalize long before we have any say in the matter. Maybe it was a parent, a teacher, an ex, or the version of you that was just trying to survive at the time. But you are not that voice. You are the awareness behind it, the presence that can observe it, interrupt it, cancel it out, and choose something new. And in doing so, build new beliefs. So the next time that voice shows up, and it will, try this. Take a breath, pause, and say out loud, "Who said that? That's not me. That's not my truth. I get to choose what I believe, especially about myself." Because the real you, you're powerful, wise, and worthy. And when you stop confusing that voice with your true voice, your divine nature and authentic core, everything changes. But understanding how manifestation works is vital if you want to move the needle with all of this. So you definitely want to watch this video here where I teach you how to manifest everything you want consistently and predictably. I'll see you there.